Still have a couple minutes. Can everybody hear me okay? You can just give me a thumbs up with the reactions or shake your head. I can see some of you. Okay, just making sure.
Amber, you got a minute?
Here's see what she needs.
Wait, I'm coming.
Sit up for exam and make sure Jennifer Poole, 78.
Hello? He's upstairs?
Yeah.
Yes.
Here, turn that off. Because they're screaming upstairs anyway.
Yeah, because Sebastian put something on.
All right, guys, we've got about 2 minutes. And so if you see me mute you, that means I can hear everything you're doing. All right. And so if you're not real familiar with Zoom, that it's easier. I can hear everybody talking in the background at your house and everything else. And so sometimes it just works out easier for you to be able to hear me. Like I say, we'll start in about another minute or so. Let's see if anybody else hops on. All right, so it's noon, and so I'm going to respect your time. I'm going to go ahead and start with thanking everybody to come to our first parent luncheon meeting with the principal. This is something I think that we're the only school in Commerce doing this right now. And so I knew there was a lot of questions out there from Facebook and everything else with people. I see a lot, read a lot, say little. And so I figured this was probably the easiest way to go about this and kind of allay any fears or any questions that people had. And so first off, I want to introduce myself and my assistant principal. My name is Dr. Philip Powell. In case you don't know, I was the assistant principal at the high school for the last 3 years. And now I am the principal of the middle school and looking forward to that adventure. And then Ms. Shoemaker, if you would.
Kelly Shoemaker, assistant principal. Hi, everybody.
All right. And so, as you know, we have a lot of challenges coming this year with COVID and trying to get ready for all of that. And so we think, as always, you think you've thought through all the processes and every single aspect of it. And so I am recording this meeting. And so if you have parents that weren't able to attend or community members and you talk to them, it will be posted to our Commerce Middle School YouTube page, and they can go back and review it later. I'll post it as soon as we're done. It'll probably be a pretty lengthy file, so you might see me pause it and then restart it a couple times. So we're not having to, you won't have to sit there and parse through an hour and a half of questions just to find the component that you want, okay? And so the first thing, rather than just open the floor up, Ms. Shoemaker and I kind of walk through what we would like to do. There's a couple general things I do want to mention at the beginning. What I am going to do is I'm going to walk through the school day. I think that'll answer most of everybody's initial questions, a lot of the general stuff of how school will work, and then how kids get on the bus, how they get off the bus, the whole school day. And then I will talk a little bit about some of the things that students are going to need that you haven't had to buy in the past as a parent. And I keep making notes to myself as I think of things that could come up. And then what I'm going to do is I'm just going to have an open forum to where I'll open it up. And if you have questions, you can ask those. It is a drop-in. The reason I did it at this time, I wanted people to be able to drop in on their lunch break. And so I wouldn't have to repeat myself. And so Ms. Shoemaker, if you do have questions, you can put them in the chat and she'll write down below. She can answer them there. I'll give her an opportunity to answer some questions as well. But that way, everybody's not having to sit through the same questions, that we can get what you want. Once you hear enough and you feel like you've heard enough, feel free to log off. You don't have to tell me bye. You won't hurt my feelings, okay? And so with that being said, I'm going to start straight in through walking through the day. So as many of you know, we have flipped our school day with the primary and elementary to where now the middle school and high school actually starts at 7:40 is the middle school take in. The high school is at a 7:45 take in. And the actual school day will start at 8:05. Okay, and so 8:05 as they come in. And so with that being said, let's get on to the bus first. So the first thing I would tell parents is that with the later start time and with the new school year, if I were you, I would have my kids, if they ride the bus, be outside at 7:15. Okay, not in their normal times like they have in the past. I'm not exactly sure what time they're going to come by your house. I just know that if you go out there at 7:15, you'll be safe because they're not supposed to leave the primary and elementary until 7:15. And so your kids will get on the bus on the first day of school. I think once we kind of nail out who's riding the bus and who's not, as it is with every new school year, we'll get a more accurate picture of what time your child needs to be outside. Riding the bus. So when your student rides the bus, we have mandated as a district that your student does need to wear a mask when they get on the bus. And so if you haven't purchased masks at this point, Commerce City Schools is not dictating what type of mask you have to have. They're only saying that students must wear a mask while on the bus, okay? And so they'll get on the bus, they'll put on their mask, or they'll put on their mask and then get on the bus, and then they'll arrive at school. So the middle school is in a unique situation. I was talking to a parent about this last night, that we're about the only school that has about a 50-50 split between car rider and bus rider. And so our expectation at this point is to have 240 car riders and 240 bus riders. And so Miss Shoemaker will manage the front of the school for the bus riders and get them off, and I will manage the car rider line. The reason also you'll notice that we moved it back to 7:40. I'm not sure I can get 240 kids out of their cars. I've been through the middle school traffic line before as a middle school parent in the past. I'm not sure it's feasible. And so we moved back 5 more minutes to give parents more time to drop their kids off. We're going to watch. And if it's still not working, we might consider going to a 2-lane drop-off out there underneath if you're familiar with the middle school, we'll go to a 2-lane drop-off underneath the overhang and use crossing guards at both so we can get 12 kids out of a car at a time instead of 6. All right. And so we're just going to watch and see. I'm not going to come in and change that thinking I know better, because it might work just fine and then we're good. All right. And so car riders will get out of their car. bus riders will get off the bus. We will then proceed to first period. If your child eats breakfast in the morning, we will have a breakfast cart set up in the atrium. We will also have the cafeteria open for the selection like we have in the past. Your students will pick it up, but they will not eat in the cafeteria this year. All students will eat in classrooms, with some exceptions that I'll mention around the lunch when I get to that. But they'll pick it up and proceed to their first period where students will eat in there. So we'll still have the same breakfast options. The only difference is under the new CDC guidelines, we have to provide all the new options have it to where we have to have prepackaged, or it has to be covered, okay? And so that's going to be a little bit of a different change than what your child has had in the past. And so we will cover or serve prepackaged food. The kids can pick it up and they'll go to first period. So let's say your kid gets off the bus at 7:40 here and class starts at 8:05. So that should give them plenty of time to get to their first period, and then they'll eat their breakfast and discard of it in the first period class. Couple things that are a little different this year. Your child will probably be asked to help clean in the sake of sanitizing and disinfecting, just to make sure common surfaces. And so we are asking kids to kind of grow up a little bit, and they will discard of their trash in the mornings, and then the teacher will take that trash bag out, the liner, we will have circular trash cans in the hallways, and the teacher will discard of that trash there. It also prevents our students from gathering up in the mornings, and so it'll help us with a little bit with the social distancing as they head to first period. Let's see. So then class begins, and so we'll go through our day just like classes have always done. A couple things of note that I wanted to mention with classes, and so masks, let's talk about those first, because that's a hot topic here in Commerce. And so as y'all know, or if you don't know, I'll tell you, the district has decided that masks are not mandatory for students, but faculty and staff, unless they have an underlying health condition, will be required to wear masks, okay? If you decide to send your child in mask, they're more than welcome to wear them. Our staff will model mask by wearing them, okay? And we encourage all students to wear masks, but we're not going to dictate that they have to in all classes. So I do want to mention that. So if our teachers have the right to feel safe, just like you, all right? And all of us have different perspectives on the virus and how we perceive it. Some of us are scared to death. Others of us are moving on with life like nothing is occurring or happening. And so I think the main thing that I want to convey is as a community and as a society, I wear a mask. I just went and got my hair cut, and I wore a mask when I came in and asked him, do I need to wear this? And he said, no, you don't. And so I try to respect, no matter what my personal belief system is, I respect everyone else's beliefs. And so I went to Five Guys the other night. They don't have a mask policy. I wore my mask in, but none of the other patrons in there had it on. And so we're going to try to adapt the same thing as we come in to Commerce, okay? It's about civility and being a community. And so regardless of your personal preference on masks or what you feel, if a teacher, okay, has a concern, health concern or a fear, and asks students to wear masks, they will be required to wear it for that period. Okay, I want to be very clear on that. So if a teacher asks your child to wear a mask because they have some other underlying health condition or they have a fear, please convey to your students that they need to wear a mask during that period, okay? I'm not here to take away civil liberties. I'm just asking everyone to be respectful of everyone's interpretation of this virus and how they perceive it, okay? And so that's what that mask mandate is about with that. So if your child, and please, that's the main thing, is just conveying to parents, and I'll write a Facebook post too. Just remember, it's a society. If your child says, I'm not wearing a mask, the teachers have been instructed to de-escalate that situation rather than escalate it and say, I understand, I'm asking you to wear it. I have X, reason why. If your child says no, then they'll contact Miss Shoemaker or I. We'll come down, we'll pull your child out of class. We'll ask them to put the mask on. If they still refuse, then they'll come with me or Miss Shoemaker and we'll give you a call. And hopefully we can have a conversation to where we don't disrupt learning over an extended period of time would be my goal. So you have the right, obviously, as parents, to select the online option. And if your child and you both feel that wearing a mask is unfair, and once a teacher has requested that you wear it, we will remove your child from that class and place them in online learning just for that subject. Your child's still welcome to come to Commerce Middle School, but I've got to come to some type of medium. And so hopefully, rather than get upset, I think about it logically with, all right, you can't please everybody. Lord, I know that, trust me. You can't please everybody, all right? And so I'm trying to find mediums. That's what we're trying to do, okay? And the vast majority of our faculty have not expressed that. I've only have three as of this morning. I have 3 faculty members that are going to require masks in their rooms. Okay, so the chance of your child having that situation arising is relatively small. Okay, but if it does arise, please just speak with your child. It's 53 minutes of their day. Okay, and so it's not that big of a deal. The other thing as we go through it is I would encourage you to teach your children how to wear masks properly. Don't forget, if they do wear masks, it needs to cover the nose and the mouth. Okay, I saw some adults wearing masks this week and they had it, I always have a mask on hand. So like this, okay. So if your nose hangs out the top, you're not wearing it properly. And so just kind of talk with your parents, with your students on that and your family, same kind of deal. The school will not provide masks as a general rule. If there comes a situation to where your child forgot their mask on a given day, a teacher's requesting that they wear it, and it's going to keep them out of class for a period, I'll give the kid a mask. Do you understand? I'm not going to, instruction and education is what I'm here for. And so that, I'll make sure that they get that. Okay. Let's see. Another thing. So the other part is, and I'm going to use some teacher terms, collaborative group setting. So what that means is when kids get in a group and work on something. Okay, and so when you think about that, the CDC has recommended that when students do move to group work, and we are, and Commerce City Schools is doing this as well, when students do move to group work, they do put on a mask because they'll be in such close proximity with each other that it would be wise for them to do that. Now, while I'm on classes, before I continue, Ms. Shoemaker, did I forget anything at that point? That's pretty down and dirty with that, right? Okay. All right, so classroom setups. So in the past, when you visited, especially if you've had elementary school children, it's especially tough on them this year. Classes are arranged into pods or into tables, where the kids kind of work together, or they're in groups of 2 or groups of 4 with the desks facing each other. This year, the CDC recommends that all desks face forward toward the teacher, and so that's what we have instructed our teachers to do so. And so desks will stay forward, And then if they have to work in collaborative groups, teachers will move the desk, and that's when the kids would have to put their mask on. Okay, so let's say everybody in the room is facing forward. You're in a classroom with a teacher that does not require students to wear masks. Does your student have to have their mask on when they're facing forward? No. If the teacher moves to an activity that is collaborative in nature, where they have to be in close proximity, such as a lab or some type of jigsaw where they're working on some poster together or some project, then students would be required to put on a mask at that point. Okay? Let's see. I'm going through my 50 question list, so let me just keep going through this, okay? A couple things that are different this year. So if you've had a middle schooler before, I've seen parents fuss about this in the past on Facebook, that kids can't wear backpacks at Commerce Middle School. How do they expect kids to do this? And so for this year, Ms. Shoemaker and I have talked about it, and we feel like the safest thing is to allow kids to be able to wear backpacks. And so that way it cuts down on our transition time in the hallways. And so kids can wear backpacks. They'll take them into the classroom with them. I highly recommend also common touch objects that children interact with. And I have a list of those in front of me. I'm going to mention in just a sec, that you purchase for your child. For example, in the past, we've shared earbuds in classes. If we don't have them, we'll have a class set of them. Okay, so a cheap pair of earbuds that the kid can carry around with them. You got to think, so a kid touches the earbuds, puts it in their ears, sets it back on the table. Next kid comes in and does the same thing. We have 7 classes a day. So now we just had 7 people touch the same object. And so just in terms of general cleanliness, I can't guarantee that every teacher is going to wipe down every set of earbuds. So it would probably be a good idea to maybe buy a set. You can get them at Walmart for $5-6. You know,
And just to clarify, Dr. Powell, we've always shared headphones. We don't share earbuds at the middle school just for sanitary reasons, but definitely headphones. So yeah, to have earbuds would be very helpful if they're gonna, you know, to protect themselves.
And I mentioned backpacks already. So a parent did say that how are little kids supposed to carry around a backpack all day? Okay, I saw that on Facebook. So Commerce Middle School normally doesn't issue textbooks. And so the load that you're talking about carrying will really be dictated by you as the parent. 2 or 3 binders for their classes, maybe some reading books from the library, and then what else they bring in them. I don't know. I've raised 2 middle schoolers. My son's backpack somehow ends up weighing 80 pounds, and he's never been issued a textbook in his life. And so I don't know what all they put in there, but just communicate with them. If you put it in there, you're going to have to carry it all day. And so, but I really do think you could get away with a backpack that weighs about 10 pounds and be just fine. Okay, and I don't foresee any future back problems with 10-pound backpacks. And so another thing that we've done this year, water fountains are cut off in the building. Okay, however, we did purchase refillable water bottle stations. And so I would recommend that you spend a few bucks and get a refillable water bottle for your child and send them to school with it in the morning already full. And then if they finish it throughout the day with the systems that Dr. Talbert and the board has purchased, they are refrigerated and they're filtered. So it won't be like normal Commerce tap water. It'll be a filtered water bottle that they can refill their bottle with. But I would recommend maybe on one of the pockets of the book bag, you go ahead and buy one of those, something like this, just with a lid. It needs to have a sealable lid on it, okay? It can be a flip lid, so we don't have spills in the classroom would be ideal, okay? And the last thing, something I was thinking about last night, so one of the things is that in the past, we always have classroom sets of calculators for students. For the first time, I might consider, if I were you, I'm looking at my desk, I don't mean to back away. But I have my own calculator, and I was really hoping I had one of mine with me. Probably one of my children stole it. But getting your own calculator from Walmart, a TI 30S, okay, a $12 calculator will last that child through high school. Okay, a TI 30S or a TI 32S is what they're called. I really wish I had mine so you could see it, but it's really just a basic scientific calculator. Okay, the reason for that is that it's just like the earbuds. It's one less surface that multiple people would touch, and so if you are a parent that is concerned, I would think about maybe buying one of those. Okay, Ms. Shoemaker, anything else that I haven't thought of? Okay. If you're really worried, okay, if you're one of those parents that is really concerned, you can also purchase your own laptop or Chromebook keyboard covers, the little plastic covers, okay? You can place those over the top and kids can type, okay? A normal QWERTY keyboard cover or a Chromebook cover will do it. And that way they're not touching those. Now, we do have a plan in place to disinfect Chromebooks, and I'll talk about those in just a little bit. All right.
What about
So-
bring your own devices, Philip?
So that is something some teachers are considering putting in their syllabi that students are welcome to bring their own devices. So we're kind of at a weird age, middle school is, where you have 5th grade, 6th grade, 7th grade, and 8th grade. So I don't know about y'all, but I didn't buy my daughter her first phone until she was in 7th grade. And my son, I think, was a little bit older than that. You know, the second child normally gets stuff early. But some of us have children, you know, who are in 5th grade who have a phone already. And so your children are encouraged, if that teacher puts it in their syllabus, to bring their own technology, iPads, Chromebooks, 2-in-1 flip books, cell phones. Now, the discretion is at the teacher. The positives of it are that your child would have their own device, okay? And so no one else would touch it to access and do work. We also have a guest Wi-Fi here at Commerce Middle School. And so your student would have access to the Wi-Fi and be able to use the internet that way. The negatives of it, and this is about really just talking to your children, we are not responsible for it if it gets damaged. Okay, so if it's in their possession, they need to make sure they're taking care of it and not let little Johnny, their best friend, hold it, touch it, look at it crossways, because if little Johnny breaks it, we're not responsible. Okay, I want to put that out there right now. And so if it's your child's technology, make sure that they hold on to it. Okay. Let's see, as we move down through here, we're not going to do lockers this year. I did talk about that. There is no mandated limit on how many students can be in the restroom at a time. Okay. However, Ms. Shoemaker, will you talk about your class rotation for a minute and that?
Sure. So I've scheduled students to be more like an elementary type schedule. So students are in homeroom classes, and they're going to rotate in the hallways in a counterclockwise fashion. So they'll go from one classroom to the next classroom. There won't be crossing over. There won't be any congestion really in the hallways. So they'll move as a class to the next classroom, and that classroom will proceed around the building, hoping to keep clusters of kids together in a classroom, to keep the cross-contamination down as much as possible if a student should have, be tested positive for COVID.
And the CDC just released a new guidance document this morning, and we have that, and we are following that guideline. That is one of the recommendations in there. And so going back to restrooms, it'll be the same kind of thing. So we're going to do is, it's really about common sense, okay? So we're not going to release all students to the restroom. We're going to have them go to their next period class, check in with the teacher, and then have that teacher allow them to go in small group or in singleton. We're going to let the teachers decide, but no more than 1 to 3 students out of a classroom at a time on a hallway. And so I think we'll be completely fine with social distancing in the bathrooms, just because our grade level teams are also talking about staggering it. So to use the 5th grade team, for example, Matthew Lunn's kids would get the first 10 minutes, and then Jody Hutto's kids would get the next 10 minutes, and then Miss Crumbly's kids would get the next 10 minutes. Now, what if your kid has an emergency? Once again, common sense rules the day. Okay, so obviously if your kid has an emergency, they can go to the bathroom. We're not in the business of telling kids they can't go to the restroom. And so that's 2 ways with the social distancing at this time. For lunch, are we that far, Kelly? Have I forgot anything with the rotations or anything about that?
You're good to go.
Okay. So for lunch and with classrooms, both goes. So we're not going to eat in the classroom initially. We don't have the space to accommodate that many kids in our lunchroom.
Nope.
So at this time, what we're going to do is we will eat in classrooms. So we'll dismiss by class, and I'll keep picking on 5th grade. For example, Matthew Lunn's class will dismiss and go to the cafeteria. They'll be socially distanced down the hallway. Once again, don't forget, we're talking about middle schoolers, all right? And so I say that, but does that mean that I'm going to be watching every 6 feet? I know middle schoolers like to touch each other, all right?
Now,
For some reason. Yeah,
let
go
me
ahead, Kelly.
clarify real quick, because you said we're not going to eat in the classrooms. I think you meant to say we're not going to eat in the cafeteria.
Oh, that's what I meant. I'm
We
glad you
are
said
going
that.
to
Yeah.
eat in classrooms.
Yes, we are. Sorry. This is what happens when you just start talking. Okay. So as you go through this, so we'll dismiss. Kids will go down the hallway in a straight line, similar to primary and elementary school. They can pick up their lunch. Right now, what we're looking at is a prepackaged lunch deal. There'll be 4 choices, 2 hot options, a sandwich option, and a salad option. The kids will pick up whatever they're going to eat, and then they'll go back down the hallway. It's just like traffic. Kids who are traveling down the hallway are always on the right, okay, right-hand side. And then they'll eat in the classrooms, and then it'll be the same protocol for dismissing trash as it was in the morning, with one exception. Our plan at this point is to roll the trash cans into the classroom, and the kid will just walk and throw it away. And then once that class is done eating, the teacher will just roll the trash can back into the hallway. The reason we decided to do that is if we left the trash cans in the hallways, the kids would go outside and then they'd see their buddies, and the hallway, the trash can would now be the cool hangout spot. And so rather than do that, we're just going to bring it in and bring it out. Okay. Some guidance I did give to the teachers this week about lunches. We are encouraging for kids for lunches and for classes. If it's not, and we live in Georgia, okay, so I know what's coming, and just like y'all are, you work outside, it's hot, but we have given the go-ahead for teachers to have classes and lunch outside, as long as they are socially distanced. That way the kids, if they're 6 feet apart at least and are sitting on the grass, they can still face each other and eat, okay? And we won't gather up. So like Coach Lunn's class would gather over there on the west side of the building, then Jody Hutto's class by default would then gather on the north side of the building, okay? And so we're not gonna take 2 classes and gather them together. But we have encouraged, if you want to teach outside, if it's pretty and it's not just 99 degrees with 100% humidity in Georgia, by all means have at it, okay? And we are aware of ants and bees. We did bring that up yesterday with the faculty. Make sure you're aware of what your students, some of us have bee allergies and ant allergies and all of that. So we just need to be careful. So lunch, kind of went through that. Some things that I believe that the food service for the district is going to roll out this year. As of right now, their plan is to use an app on their phone to have your child make a selection on what they want to eat for that day, so they prepare the right amount of food. I'm not sure how that's going to work. If it starts giving us issues, we'll go old school. 40 years ago, we'll just take a lunch count. Who wants hot dog? Who wants hamburger? All right, we'll turn it in, and that'll be that. Okay, and so no worries, no stress. It's about going with the flow this year. Okay. Let's see. For bus dismiss, let's talk about the afternoon now. All right, so in the afternoon, the bell will ring at 3 o'clock. And bus riders will go to a specific location for their bus. For example, if your child rides bus 19, then we will have them stationed in, for example, okay, this isn't it yet, in April Davis's FFA classroom. If your bus is number 3, you'll go to the cafeteria and sit at the back. So that way we can keep kids on the same bus, socially distanced, and then they will be able to, Ms. Shoemaker will run the buses in the afternoon along with our counselor, Ms. D. Kaunhofer. And so they'll call by bus. So when they call bus 3, all those kids will get up, put their mask on, and then proceed to that bus and get on to ride home for the afternoon. Okay. That's buses. Kelly, anything there I forgot? Everything's good. And so hopefully everybody understands we're going to space them as much as we can for buses. The true nightmare, car rider in the afternoon. Okay, so car rider in the afternoon, we're going to use the gym as our staging area. We're going to basically do 4 corners. It'll be a 5th grade corner, a 6th grade corner, a 7th grade corner, and an 8th grade corner. We're going to try to socially distance those grades as much as possible in the afternoons, where kids will sit 6 feet apart on the ground, and we'll utilize the same procedure that we've done in the past. You have your car rider number. You'll have it displayed. They'll call into the gym. The gym will make an announcement for that number. That kid will get up and go to the entrance and wait to get in the car. Okay. A couple things that I did change this year. You will see more people on duty in the afternoon on the car rider line. Instead of in the past, we've had 5, maybe 6 people helping. We'll have 10 this year to help with that process, to try to get kids out of here a little bit faster in the afternoon. And so that makes it through an entire school day. All right. Lord willing, as they say. And so, Ms. Shoemaker, anything that I forgot or I should have mentioned as we went through?
No, nothing I can think of in terms of the schedule.
Okay, I'm just kind of looking through this. Oh, one thing I do want to mention, all students will be placed in seating charts in all classes, okay? Now I'm going to talk about the reason why for that for a minute. So the CDC guidance given to us states that all students that are in a sustained area with a student that tested positive for COVID for 15 minutes or more without personal protective equipment would then be subject to determining if they were positive for COVID and would be asked to be quarantined from the school, okay? And so let's imagine that 6 of us are sitting in a desk, all right, in a square. So the central person in the square is positive for COVID, all right? The 2 people to their left and right, and then the person in front and the person in back of them, all right, because they're in a 6-foot radius, would then be asked to be quarantined, okay? And there's some discriminatory stuff coming out about this. The new CDC guidance this morning says that they could be monitored, and technically they wouldn't have to be sent home for 14 days. As of right now, it is a quarantine for 14 days, so it's 10 school days, all right? if someone were to test positive without personal protective gear, which is why, like my child, okay, is going to wear a mask at school. It's just something that we're going to do. I don't want her to have to be quarantined for 14 days. And so that's what my family's choice has been. Okay. And so that is not saying that's what your family's choice has to be. That's just what we're doing. And so sanitizing and disinfecting, I didn't talk about that a great deal. We will sanitize and disinfect between classes, and this is what I was talking about before, where your children will become a little bit more adult and have responsibilities assigned to them in the classroom, to where the teacher will spray a disinfecting spray that we've purchased this year that's used by the Atlanta Braves, that kills anything on contact within 3 seconds. And so the teacher will spray the desk and the kids will wipe them down with paper towels and then just throw them away. Okay. So what's going to end up happening is we're definitely going to lose some instructional time as we go through. However, that instructional time loss is worth it to keep safety as the top priority. My job as a principal is to make sure everybody's safe. And so, and then to educate. And so if everyone's doing both, I don't expect it to take more than 2 to 3 minutes to be able to disinfect the common surfaces in a classroom between class changes. That also allows our teachers to be able to monitor the hallway in between. Okay. Also, the school system has purchased, and this is a lot, every single teacher in our building will get a cleaning crate, a disinfecting crate. Inside of that crate is hand sanitizer, paper towels, disinfecting spray, boxes of gloves, a laundry list of just safety items for cleaning and disinfecting your classroom. Outside of my office and Ms. Shoemaker's office right now, I have 80 gallons of hand sanitizer. Okay, every single teacher will get a gallon of it. Also, I have purchased for our teachers as a welcome back gift brooms and dustpans for their classrooms, which I know they're going to be excited about. So the purpose of those is to have kids clean up if there is some type of, I don't want to deal with ants on top of COVID. And so the kids can sweep up if there's food on the floor or anything like that. I wouldn't be surprised this year if you end up seeing more of like a classroom duties thing by teachers on your kids, to where, I don't know about y'all, when I was in school, we had that. Like you were the hall monitor and like you were the leader of the class for that week. And so it'll be those kind of things going on just to make sure that cleanliness is the top priority and we're taking care of our classrooms. Our custodians can't handle disinfecting and cleaning classrooms after lunch and breakfast, and then disinfecting the rest of the school. So we're going to have to all pitch in. Let's talk about sanitizing Chromebooks. Some people have been worried about that. And so we finally got an answer on that. So we have purchased these technology wipes that are disinfecting wipes for Chromebooks. They're really expensive, but one wipe will handle an entire cart of Chromebooks. And so they'll wipe them down just like the desk between each. We've also kind of, Ms. Shoemaker and I have changed our technology plan to where each hallway will have 2 Chromebook carts just for them. So 5th grade will have 2, 6th grade will have 2, 7th grade 2, 8th grade 2. And then we'll have 5 common ones for them to check out. And so we have 13 Chromebook carts. And so that is our plan with that piece of the technology aspect. So we can wipe down Chromebooks. I also have a fogger in my office right now. It looks like a Ghostbusters backpack. Okay, and buses will be fogged in the morning and the afternoon after riding. And if we do have a positive COVID test, we will pull the kids out of there. They will have class in an alternate location on that day, and we'll go ahead and disinfect and fog the room. Shouldn't take more than 30 minutes to completely wipe out anything that's in the room. Okay, the foggers, the only thing they let out a lot of fog. And so we heard the other day in a meeting that it's possible to set off the sprinklers with them. And so I can't imagine a worse scenario than COVID on top of accidentally tripping the fire alarm as the principal, but that is possible. Okay. And so new year, new challenges. Let's see here. Instructional model. Go ahead, Kelly. While I'm reading through this.
A couple of things in the chat real quick. Can they get a list of textbooks so that if they want to purchase textbooks that their kids have on their own? So we can get you that list once the teachers come back.
I think
about recess, we don't have recess at the middle school, so that's not something we have to worry about here. And the other question, Dr. Powell, is connections. So we're looking at this next week, connections. We had connections scheduled, kids scheduled for connections before we got out for COVID in the spring. So we're gonna have to really step back and punt on that one a little bit. I think we're going to need to do some shifting of schedules for connections to keep them in clusters. And so next week we will probably be rescheduling kids so that they are again in clusters in their home rooms and moving as much as possible. There will be some exceptions to that. In 8th grade, kids sign up for year-long ag, year-long Spanish. Those are classes that are very specific. However, they will be in a cluster all year with those kids. So that will work out. It's just they wouldn't follow their homeroom's connection schedule. They'll follow their own connection schedule. So there'll be a little crossover, but we will be looking at that next week when Ms. Kellenhofer returns
yes.
to the building.
Yeah, and if you all have other questions, you can type them in the chat. So I just saw Jennifer Goldray. How would we be able to get their schedule for this year? So there's a couple ways. We're going to put the schedules out on Infinite Campus August 4th. Okay. And so you'll be able to see your child's schedule on that date. Also on the first day of school, just like we've always done, we'll post paper by child's grade and last name on what room they should report to for first period. If you don't have access to Infinite Campus. And then they can go there and we'll give them a paper copy of their schedule. Okay. The other thing though is all the beginning of the year paperwork is online. And so as parents, I encourage you to go ahead and get your Infinite Campus parent portal set up. And so instead of, and all of us have done it, I've done it, I don't know for how many years, you get that giant packet and you have to fill out the same thing like 10 times. Okay. All of that is online now. And so it's completely digital. So I encourage you to log into the parent portal and you can go ahead and complete that now. It's available. Okay. One thing Miss Cassidy mentioned about the textbooks and getting a list of those. What I'll do is I'll just do similar to what we've done in the high school in the past. I'll ask the teachers to list on the syllabus their textbook. Okay. And so that'll solve that to where when you see the syllabus as a parent, you'll be able to see it. Some other things that we've asked teachers to do is consider moving away from so much paper usage this year to cut down on touching common surfaces again. And so assess as much as possible digitally. And so your child might have more stuff that they turn in, but it'll be through Google Classroom or through Edgenuity or through some other platform, USA Test Prep, some of those, okay, for the assessment pieces. Let's see if what else on that. So we will start the year. I'll talk quickly about Edgenuity and then I want to open the floor up. So Edgenuity is a platform that we purchased K through 12. So even if you have younger children, okay, they're going to be using a version of Edgenuity. The K through 5 version of Edgenuity is called Pathfinder. The 6 through 12 version is just Edgenuity. And so if a child, let's talk about going back to that because I don't feel like I was very clear and I don't want miscommunication on that. Per the guidelines, okay, and I've written this down so I was very clear with it. Someone will only be considered to have been exposed to COVID-19 if all 3 of these factors are true. they were within 6 feet of someone who is symptomatic and or test positive, and they were there for more than 15 minutes, and neither person was wearing personal protective gear. Okay, that is the only scenario to where we would quarantine a child. All right, and that's based upon the CDC guideline. All right, so all three of those is what would have to be true. And so I kind of lost where I was thinking with that. Besides that, I'm sure it'll come back to me. What questions do y'all have? You can unmute yourselves if you have questions, or you can raise your hand and you can unmute it, whatever you feel like doing. It doesn't matter. There's not a great deal of us. It's not like we're overwhelmed. So what questions do you have at this time?
Hi, this is Amy. If it has to be for that, would they be able to do at home through Ingenuity?
Yeah, Amy, let me talk about that, okay? So, so I'm gonna mute you back and then you can unmute if there's more. So let's say a kid gets quarantined. So the teacher has the discretion. We're encouraging them to use the Edgenuity at home because it makes it easier. Edgenuity is a platform that provides the instruction, the assessment, and all of the learning components of like your child would just be in class, okay? They can watch the videos as much as they want if they don't understand something. And so the teacher has the option to do that. If the teacher is a real go-getter and they want to record themselves presenting content every single day and upload that to Google Classroom as well as assess, they are more than welcome to do that, okay? And so your teacher will communicate with your child what would happen if they did have to be quarantined, or let's say your kid tests positive, what would we do, okay? Not just quarantine. So if your kid tests positive, that's how we would treat it. The classroom teacher would be responsible for making sure your child is still getting their educational needs met, okay? And so Edgenuity or through Google Classroom or through, some teachers might use Khan Academy to present instruction and then use their own stuff to assess it. All right, so it could be a variety of models, but Edgenuity is what we're pushing. That's what we're training all of our teachers on, just because it's easy for the parent. It's a one-stop shop. And that was one of the things we really heard from parents, that it was confusing on where to go and what to do, and it was overwhelming on how to keep track of it. Edgenuity is on one platform and everything is on there right in front of you, okay, as a parent and as a student. And so it really makes things easy. Amy, does that answer your question? You can just throw a thumbs up if it does. If not, you can unmute.
It does, thank you. I just was a little confused because I know if those chose the homeschooled option, the Edgenuity was not going to provide the teacher support. But if my child comes to school and is absent and needs to use that, will they get teacher support with it?
Yes, ma'am, they will.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am, they will. Okay. Other questions? Anybody? I'm sure there's stuff I haven't thought of. I feel like I went through it all, but I mean, yeah, go ahead, Bridget.
Hey, it's Bridget Harden. I'm curious to know how after-school sports activities will be handled, if we are still able to have them.
So as of right now, first off, just a little education first. So middle schools in the state are not under the guidance of GHSA, okay? So technically, we don't have to abide by GHSA guidelines. Now, with that being said, we abide by GHSA guidelines because there's no governing body over middle school sports, okay? And so as of right now, and yeah, I think y'all saw it, I think it came out 24 hours ago, the GHSA lifted even more restrictions that were already in place on football, to where showering, we are going to have to fog helmets and those type of things to make sure they're sanitized from day to day, or I'm sorry, disinfected from day to day. There's a distinct difference between those two terms, by the way. So disinfected every day. But the GHSA is allowing, they have pushed football back 2 weeks, but all other fall sports, cross country, softball, volleyball will proceed as planned. Okay. And so as of right now, that is what our plan is as well until instructed differently. Okay. Anyone else?
I have a question real quick.
Yes, ma'am.
My daughter is in the self-contained Miss Franklin's class, and she rides the special needs bus. Will that still be going on, and will she be required to wear a mask as well?
So yes, ma'am. So they will need to wear a mask unless your daughter has some other type of health concern that would restrict that. Okay. We still will transport via the special ed bus. The reason that we're going to follow what each child needs on that is because many of them are medically fragile. Okay. And so we will follow what guidelines that need to be in place to make sure your child is safe and the safety of all children. Okay. And Madison has been instructed on that, as well as Stevie Cottrell, who will be joining our staff this year for our for another set of our special ed students.
What's
Okay.
the schedule gonna be?
All right, thank you.
All right, any other questions? Kelly, have we answered everything in the chat? Is there anything that I've missed?
No, nothing that I can see. I think we've addressed everything.
Okay. Any others? Kelly, is there anything, Ms. Cassidy, is there anything that the high school is doing that is different than us? Mr. Smith and I have tried to be on the same page and try to communicate. And I think Kara I'm sorry, Miss Lindsay at the primary and elementary school as well. And so does anybody have anything else that y'all have heard?
The only thing that we discussed is there's some really good research coming out of Israel and some other places where they're having a lot of classes outside if they can. So we talked a lot about the other day encouraging people to go to the tennis courts and have class, or encouraging people to go to the stadium and have class. So especially when we have their, and it's not, of course, pouring down rain or something, but to allow the kids to get out, get 6 feet away from each other, take their mask off if it's a teacher that's requiring mask, and work on whatever they were going to be working on in the classroom. One, it's good for their mental health because they're going to be stuck in these rooms for long periods of time facing the same direction and all that craziness, but also just the air circulation and the UV light and just disinfecting their little bodies for that period. So so that's the only really thing that we discussed that you haven't touched on here.
Yeah, and so there's a lot of different things there to where, like I said, we're encouraging as much outside instruction as possible. Mr. Smith and I both have been looking for ways to maybe build an outside classroom quickly, so we could at least do a rotation with something like that, and also use it as a lunch area. And so he and I have been kind of batting that around this week. We got 2 weeks. Who couldn't? I'm sure we can put something together. And so I think the main thing I want to convey to our parents is that Ms. Shoemaker and I are here to listen. I don't want to pretend that I have all the answers. I've tried to make the best decisions that I possibly can based upon the guidance that I've been given. And so I think that if you have a question or concern, know that my door is always open. Ms. Shoemaker's door is always open. And so reach out to us. I think you're going to find that, and I hope you've noticed with just the Facebook page, that we've tried to become much more communicative. Any questions or concerns that you have, okay? And if you bring up a good point, then I'll definitely take it under consideration. One thing that people didn't mention that I wanted to talk about, just for the good of the groups, it might not affect anyone in here, but for those parents out there who have to work in the mornings with the move of time back in the school day. So the middle school is the only one offering a morning school program, okay? And the morning school program is there for our working parents to be able to drop their child off as early as 7 o'clock in the morning. That 7 o'clock in the morning is, so I had a parent asking about this last night and they really didn't understand. So I want to lay this out pretty clearly. So, and Russ Brown, who's on here, and Kelly Shoemaker, they know because they've worked with the school system as well. So Commerce has functioned a long time in the mornings. We used to get there at 6:30 in the morning. And when I say we, I meant me and the principal, okay? And so one person would watch the front while answering the phones, and then the other person would watch the students. And so Commerce has really made some exceptions for parents for a long time to be able to drop off. Like, so when Mr. Smith and I first started at the high school, my first year and his second year, we would have kids that would be at school for an hour and a half before class ever started, okay? And so that all sounds well and good, but that's a long time for a kid to be there, okay? And so we've done that, and we've tried to appease as many people as we possibly can. But it really came down to when Smith and I talked about it, and Ms. Shoemaker and I, same deal. It really stretches you thin. I know y'all might not believe this, but some days, some mornings are kind of chaotic as a principal or an assistant principal. And a lot of stuff can happen really fast. And so I've got a parent in the front office who wants to talk to me about their child. I've got phone calls coming in. Somebody missed their bus. I've got to call the bus. At the same time, this year we get to add in, I'm also socially distancing your child while watching a bus drop off that's in the front of the school and a car rider line that's on the left side of the school. So hopefully you understand what I mean, that it's just not safe. A lot of the decisions that were made about moving the time back is we need more people there to watch kids. And so I really want it to be where I have someone there who can socially distance your children while I can also do my job in the car rider line, and Ms. Shoemaker can do her job. And so it comes down to contracts with teachers. A lot of it, teachers are contracted with the middle school from 7:30 to 3:30. And so I don't have anybody here but Ms. Shoemaker and I in the morning to watch kids. That's it. And so if there's a fight, like I was the AP at the high school, okay? So a high school fight is very different than a elementary school fight, if you can believe that. And so imagine two people trying to handle that, plus a crowd of high schoolers, get everybody calm back down, do the discipline on them with no teachers or no help in the building. And so we knew that there was a change that had to be coming. So what we've done is we've hired a teacher outside of her contracted day to offer the morning school program. Your child won't be just sitting there. We will offer iReady, or they can work on other assignments. We'll provide technology for them to work on that while they come in. And so that was the main reason for it. I've heard some kickback on, like, how can you charge me $3 a day to watch my child when you did it for free in the past? And the honest truth is that I have to pay that teacher outside of their contract today. I'm not making any money off of you, okay? I am breaking even, and that is the goal. I just want to break even so I can have somebody there to watch your kids. And I've read comments on Facebook, and like, they're just trying to make money. No, I'm not trying to make money, okay? That $15 from you is not going to make up the deficit of our budget due to the state cuts this year. And so it's not for that. It really is just about kids' safety. And I wanted to convey that, okay? And you're welcome to use it. If you don't want to use it, you don't have to. You can drop your kids off at 7:40, or you can put them on the bus. And so I just put it there as a resource, all right? And if you don't want to, you don't have to, okay? I saw some questions in the chat.
Yeah, so we had a good question about, is that mine? Kickback? Do you hear
Is
that?
it Kristen Olson?
Yes, so
All right, so
about the
I don't, can
aligning-
everybody see the chat? I'll read it. Are you going to answer it, Kelly?
I put an answer in the chat, but I just want to address it for everybody that we will be aligning classroom standards with the Edgenuity platform. So we're going to take those courses, have the teachers align their pacing guides in the classroom with those standards. So first semester standards will be the standards that are going to be taught in the classroom as well. And then second semester standards will be aligned so that they are covering things the same on Edgenuity that they will be covering in the classroom. Obviously, it won't be identical because a classroom teacher, you know, pulls from different resources. Edgenuity will pull from what Edgenuity created, but they are aligned to the state standards. Does that make sense to everybody?
Yeah, and we
Anything else?
talked about that this morning about setting up the classes. And so Ms. Shoemaker's going to do that. We're going to have our teachers set it up. So more teacher talk, okay? It's called a curriculum map. And so teachers have a set order of what they're going to teach things in, okay? And so what we're going to try to do is have the Edgenuity classes align their curriculum map. Well, yeah, we're going to change the Edgenuity courses curriculum map to match our teachers' curriculum map. And so what'll end up happening with that is that way, just as Ms. Shoemaker just mentioned, if your child goes in and out, or, you know, and we've given a week, by the way, so if online learning, if you go home and you've signed up for online learning and you're like, we made a mistake, okay, then you're welcome to go the other way. Or if you come to school and then you start seeing, you know, something that you're like, nah, we're going to sit this out for a semester. So you can go back the other way. So it is, you know, we did have a close date just so we could start communicating and getting those parents signed up. But if something changes, we'll definitely accommodate you, okay? That's what it's all about. This year, it's just survival and doing the right thing, okay?
We seem to be getting a lot of questions about special services like IEPs, 504s, ESOL support. So those services will continue this year, just like they always have. And so no worries about that. Co-teachers will still be in co-taught classrooms. And so everything will flow just like it has in the past.
Yes, and just we talked about that some this morning too. So the level of support that your child needs will be the level that we provide, okay? That's our plan. Any other stuff in the chat? Yeah, Bridget, go ahead.
I know things can change, but based on what you know today, do you feel confident that we will start on August 7th in person? I know
Yes,
with
ma'am.
what Clark County did, that was kind of a surprise, I think. For
No,
a lot of
ma'am,
folks.
we're starting in person, August 7th. We were waiting on the state if they decided to, you know, that meeting was yesterday.
Yeah.
Which would have caught us all by surprise.
Right.
But we have no intention whatsoever of backing up, okay?
Wonderful.
We will be in person August 7th.
Thank you.
And so that's my plan at this point. One thing I do want to mention also, don't forget open house. We didn't talk about that. So open house, unfortunately this year, just due to the large number of students that we have, it's going to look very different. So open house for 5th grade will be in person on July 30th. Last names A through L is from 6 to 7 o'clock. Last names M through Z are from 7 to 8, and you can come into the building. Masks are required for this event. However, at least 5th graders can come in. If you're new to Commerce City Schools, this is your first year and you're a 6th, 7th, and 8th grader, just email me. And if you want to come by and see the school, I'll take you on a personal tour. Okay, I'll let you, me and Ms. Shoemaker want to walk you around and show you where your classrooms are. Just because we can't have open house next week, if you want to come in, I'll let you see it. Okay, if I'm free, I'll definitely walk you around. And that way your child, that's the big thing. I remember when we moved to Commerce, I mean, it's the, you know, the parent just, I don't know where anything is and I'm going to give you my baby and they're not going to know where anything is. And so that's why we decided to have the open house. So for 6th, 7th, and 8th grade parents who have been around a while, that yours will be virtual. The teams will record videos, and I'll post those on the Commerce Middle School YouTube page as well. So if you haven't followed that or subscribed to it and asked for notifications, I encourage you to do that. So that way you know when we start posting them. So your child can see your teachers for that year. Okay, you'll already have your schedule by then, and you'll know what grade your child's in. So like the 6th grade team will post a video for them. Okay, so you'll see all the 6th grade teachers in their classrooms. Any other questions?
5th grade open house, besides the tour of the school, what can they expect? And will, my question is, if they don't want to come to 5th grade open house, will there be some videos from the 5th grade teachers or not?
At this time, no, we weren't planning on doing any videos for 5th grade teachers because we were doing the open house for them. I wasn't going to make them do both. And so besides that, we will have PTO there. You'll be able to see the school. You'll get to meet the teachers. But your kids can see like where they go for lunch, where the breakfast cart will be, where the gym is. So for the big deal about 5th grade is for the first time, your children are going to transfer in between classes. So they're not going to be in one location. They'll start moving between classes, and it'll be up to them, just like a high school student, to move from room to room on their own. And so that's the only reason 5th grade is kind of a big deal. Like going to middle school is a big deal. And so as a parent, I remember my wife, I'm not going to say making me, she encouraged me to attend 5th grade open house. And so I did. All right. And so that's what, it's a big deal. It's a big change for your kids. Middle school is a big change. If this is your first middle school child, as a parent, prepare yourself. It's a wild ride in middle school. So anything else? Anybody else? I don't see anything else in the chat. If nobody else has any other questions, I'm going to thank you for participating. You can tell your friends and family. I'm going to post this video in just a little bit on our Facebook page, and they can go through and watch it. It went in right at 1 hour and 10 minutes, okay? And so they can scroll through and see different components. If you think of something that I didn't mention in this, and parents, that goes for you, are going to watch it later, feel free to email me. It's philip.powell@commercecityschools.org, all right? Or kelly.shoemaker @commercecityschools.org. All right, and you can see our names, how they're spelled there. Thanks, everybody. I'm going to go ahead and close the meeting out now. Hope you have a great weekend. Bye-bye.